Right, who else would like to say hello?
Hello, my name's Carol and I'm from Wyndham Lodge in Werribee. I'm a pastoral care volunteer and I started in 2017. Yes, I'm looking forward to resume support that I give there.
Does everyone know that if you've done your infection control training and all this sort of stuff, that you can go back to site? Is everyone aware of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, because I've had some conversations with people in the last few days and they've told me they didn't know, but you can be back on site. Gisela, you were going to introduce yourself?
Yep. I'm Gisela Barros and I do volunteering at Strathallan, and I work with the ladies in the knitting group, and we knit squares and make them into blankets, and the residents get a new blanket when they come into the place, when the first time they come in. And I've got about 18 ladies who come and knit every week with us.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Matthew, you've got your hand up?
I'm Matthew at Hedley Sutton, and I went in last week and did a history talk with the residents, and I'll go in again next week to do a current affairs session for 5 years.
And during COVID, Matthew was very good about doing them on Zoom, weren't you, Matthew?
Yep.
Oh, nothing stops Matthew from doing it. So great. Okay, Dung, do you want to say hello?
Hi, Dominic and everyone. I am Pastor Dũng Nguyễn from Vic West Church, and pastoring volunteer for Vietnamese residents at West Haven, Footscray. I've been doing that for almost 3 years so far.
A long time. That's wonderful. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Well, I think I've met you actually at a training I've done previously, but I'll meet you again.
But last time my daughter was there. Yeah.
Yes.
Leah was there.
Yes. That's right. Kim, do you want to say hello? You were first on today. So
yeah, I'm Kim. I'm from Coringal in Tasmania. I've just actually recently retired from full-time work and started at Coringal about 4 weeks ago as a volunteer.
I think I've heard about you. Lana's very proud of her volunteers, so we hear about them a lot. So she makes sure that people off the mainland are heard. So heard good things. Who else would like to say hello?
Helen.
Helen, yep.
I'm Helen Crellin, and I'm at Batcare the Orchards, and I've been there nearly 4 years, and I do a bit of companionship. I do some of the ladies' nails, and I also do a little bit of craft with the ones that can. So yeah.
Fantastic. Do you do that with Wendy, Helen?
Wendy's sort of not really doing that as much now. She's mainly just doing companionship. So when I do the craft, I just do very simple things with them, and it's a bit sort of time constraint as well. So yeah,
I understand that. Thanks.
My name's Carolyn. I'm from Wyndham Lodge, and my mother was in Wyndham Lodge for 10 years, so I've sort of had a long connection with Wyndham Lodge. But just a general dog's body for Sharon, but doing a bit of craft and games and one-on-ones and things like that. Yeah.
I know that Sharon adores her volunteers. Very stressed when you guys weren't around, so I'm glad that you're back. So I'm sure that
I haven't been back yet, but I'm looking forward to getting back.
Oh, cool. Well, get in touch with Keith. I'm sure that now he's back, you get back on board.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Leslie, I can see you've just joined. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Leslie Smith, and I'm going to be starting to volunteer at Peninsula View.
So nice to see you, Leslie.
Thank you. I'm just going through the process. I still haven't got there yet.
No, takes
I
a little
think
while.
Samantha's just sort of working on the permit to be able to go on site.
Well, let us know if she can't do it, and we'll help you out. Maria and Cash are brilliant at permits.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm sure she's onto it. I believe Sam's taking on some extra work, so she'll get there.
She will. She will. Sylvia, would you like to say hello?
I work in the Northeast region, or have, and I did individual clients for some time, and then Cheryl, who was my supervisor then, had a little group that she'd had for many years, and that moved to Rosanna Baptist, and I'm a member there, and so I joined her with that little group, about 6 ladies that used to come once a fortnight for a couple of hours, and we do various programs over the time. And then Cheryl went back into church ministry, and Penny took over till the grand event happened last year, and we haven't met again since then. I've had a little bit of contact with the clients that were coming then over the phone, but that's where we're at the moment. I don't quite know what the situation is going to be.
We connect with you a little bit later, and we can talk you through what you need to do to get back on board. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yep, great. Okay, great to have you here. Anne, would you like to say hello? You're on mute. Yep.
Yeah, sorry. Hi, my name's Cham, and I'm a volunteer for the My Care Aging Project, but obviously due to the pandemic, not much has been done with that yet. So fingers crossed I'll get to volunteer sometime soon. But yeah, nice to meet you all.
Well, Tram, can I introduce you to Maria? Maria, do you want to say hello? Maria runs the in-home care visiting program. So if you two connect, you can probably start sooner rather than later.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Hi.
Do you want to say hello?
Hi, Tram.
Hi.
Hi, Tram, and everyone. I actually have 2 roles. I'm the volunteer program assistant. I work closely with Dom. You may know me because I call you and send you emails all the time too. And I'm also the in-home care volunteer coordinator. So the program is basically volunteers going to the clients' houses and spend some time with the clients. You can have a cup of coffee, go for walks, go even to the shopping center when it's allowed again. So there's different opportunities for the volunteers to, you know, connect with the community and help the clients connect with their community. So yeah, I will keep in touch, Trump.
Keith, I've just asked to unmute you. Would your team behind you like to introduce themselves?
Want to introduce yourselves, everybody?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, why not?
Hello, everyone. You can see me waving. My name's Anna, and I'm a volunteer for Bapcare Wyndham, and I've been doing it now for probably about 3 years. So and Keith is our volunteer coordinator. Yeah, look, we do a lot of different things. We help out the lifestyle team and help them take them to different destinations, because we got 3 levels in our place, so you have to move people around. And yeah, help with the menus and often just one-on-one chats or playing games with the residents.
Sounds fantastic. You're Anna, aren't you?
My name was Anna Stone. I don't know if I said my name.
Yeah, Keith's told us all about you.
And it's the first time I've been on this show. Thank you.
That's all right. Welcome, and great that you could join us today. I'm so sorry that you have to wear the face mask, but so glad that you are happy to do that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, no, we unfortunately have to wear both masks.
Yeah, unfortunately. Protection, isn't it? So
yeah, look, it is, and it's the way it goes.
I'll say a few things. Hello, everybody. I'm Patsy, and I work at Wyndham Lodge at Bapcare. Hello. And I help around to do one-on-one, and then I try and do some activities to help them and make them happy, and just talk to them, you know, talk about their lives, and then I talk about mine, you know. That's how I connect with the residents, and I love it too. Okay.
Oh, it's wonderful. Thanks, Patsy. Next.
Oh, hi, I'm Robin.
I've actually lost track of time as to when I actually started here. It was either 2 or 3 years ago. But sometimes I don't know what day of the week it is. But but look, I've really enjoyed my time here. Getting to know the residents, the staff, and the other volunteers are fantastic. It's great fun volunteering here. Yes, talking to the residents, yes, trying to just light up their day, just even if it's only for a few minutes in that day, just somebody to talk to them. So I have to keep doing it for a very long time. Thanks.
That's wonderful. Thanks. I don't know if you know, but we can't see you because you're off screen, but welcome. So who else would like to say hello?
Some of ours are camera shy.
That's okay. They're allowed to be. That's fine.
Dominique?
Yeah.
We have 2, 4, 6, 7 or 8 people, and we've got a couple who are running a little bit late. This is part of the Wyndham Lodge team that sends me crazy 3 days a week.
Oh, I'm sure that's really crazy as much as I do, Keith.
But I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, it's good.
Thank you for the invitation.
That's wonderful. All right. Well, before we get into the training, would anyone else like to say hello?
I'm not sure if you can see me. I mean, I can hear you.
Glad you can hear us. We can't see you, but we can see your name on the screen.
Anyway, I'm Peter, and I'm at Karana in Kew. I've been there 6 months. I'm there twice a week, on Tuesdays and Fridays, and I've been there 6 months. And my main aim was to do something to entertain the residents and to be a little bit educational. So I've created half-an-hour videos of music and pictures, and they are actual videos. They go for half an hour, and I'm very pleased that it's working for the residents. And yeah, I'm getting a great deal of enjoyment, and and I'm sorry I haven't got a proper connection to this.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. Look, as long as you're with us, and hopefully you'll enjoy.
Yes, I am enjoying it. Thank you.
Good.
I'm sorry, I missed your name.
I'm Dominique. I'm the volunteer program lead. I'm the one who sends you all those.
You are the Dominique.
I am the Dominique.
Thank you so much, Dominique. I've been dying to see your face.
Oh, well, there you go. Here I am.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you, Dominique.
Well, I'm glad to meet you. Is there anyone else? Judy, would you like to say hello?
Just hello, everyone. I volunteer at Strathallan for Cameron, the chaplain, and help lifestyle out a bit. And I love it. I've been there this morning, actually, and I just love it.
Fantastic. Anyone else? Louise, have you said hello?
Hi, I'm Louise. This is my first step in the way to becoming a volunteer at Amberley in Druin. I've been heavily involved in children's ministry, and I'm trying to hand that over to get more involved in aged care work. So it's the first step.
It'll be lots of fun. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And Amberley has a lovely group of volunteers and a good team down there. So looking forward to seeing you enjoy it. And I think, Marg, have we said hello?
Hi. I help out at Karana in the kiosk, and I've been there for about 3 years.
Which is lovely. And I've sent you those documents through too.
Thank you.
So we should good. Is there anyone that I've missed? I think I've got everyone, but I just want to double check. All right. Well, welcome to New Age Standards Quality Training. The standards came in a couple of years ago now, and the Aged Care Commission decided that instead of the 40 odd standards that they had, that they would move them down to 8. And these are the 8 standards. And as you can see, standard 1, consumer dignity and choice, that's in the central picture. And all of the other standards are a wraparound model around those. So we're going to go through these 8 standards today. If you've got questions, sing out, interrupt me. I'm going to ask you questions, sing out answers if you can. but we're going to try and get through this as quickly as possible. We'll take a break in the middle, and we're going to talk about why the standards have come into play and how we actually deliver them as volunteers. So standard 1, resident dignity and choice. I'm treated with dignity and respect and can maintain my identity. What does identity mean?
Who they are.
Who you are.
Who we are and who they are.
What about culture, sexuality, beliefs? Sometimes identity can be as simple as I'm able to walk by myself. It doesn't necessarily have to be their personal background. It can be about what they can do or what they want to achieve, what their personal goals are and what their desires are. So they want to have ice cream for lunch every day. That can be part of their identity. I can make informed choices about my care and services and live the life I choose. So prior to the standards coming in, the focus was on the organisation actually delivering service in a way that the organisation believed was best for the resident or the client. Now, it's about what the client wants, what the resident actually wants us to do. So now if we want them to do something, we have to give them information as to why and ask them whether that's okay or not, because it's about them living the life that they choose. Standard 1 is a big standard. It's kind of the main standard, and there's 7 concepts within this standard. Dignity and respectful care. What do you think that means?
Treat them like you would want to be treated, I think, and let them have their choice, like you just said, yes, and respect their ideas and their beliefs.
So let me ask you a question. You're at Wyndham Lodge, and Keith says to you, can you go and get Mary from her room? We're doing bowling today. How do you approach that situation as a volunteer? What do you do? By the way, Mary's in a wheelchair, so you would need to push her from her room to the bowling activity. How would you show that dignity and respect for her care?
You would need to ask her if she wants to come.
Yeah. What else?
You could take her, mate, push her in the wheelchair, that if she's happy to go with you.
Yeah. How do you do that, Gisela?
By asking
we have to ask them
if she's happy to go, and would she like you, for you to take her, by talking
even
to
to
her.
the point of, is it okay if I push your wheelchair for you? It's taking it right down to that minute level where you're seeing her as a person who has multiple voices instead of, I go to bowling, yep, cool, let's go. Is it okay?
You've got to ask her permission, yeah.
Yeah, you don't take control of the way someone moves around or someone makes choices. You simply make sure you keep asking those questions and asking for consent all the time. When we've got continence aids for the staff, when they go in to change a continence aids in the middle of the night, using respectful language, not saying, oh, I'm here to change your nappy, but saying, would you like me to change you? Is it okay if I do that? That's respecting their dignity and being respectful about them. So the language that we use and the way we approach people, regardless of their situation, especially those with dementias, is really, really important. So, and this is where this dignity and respectful care is. We provide the care that they want and need, but we do it in a way that really puts them at the centre of their care rather than our schedules or our timing or our need to get. So we've talked a little bit about identity. How do you think we support culture and diversity?
Think to understand something.
Yeah. How do we support that? So how do we support diversity and culture? What do you do as a volunteer to support that?
Or maybe ask where they're from and find out a little bit of information about it. And, when you're home later on, find out a little bit more information so that you're a little bit more sensitive to what might be some of the customs of that person.
There's no one here from Brookview today, but we actually have a group from the Turkish community because we have quite a few Turkish residents out there, and they go in and do coffee and Turkish cakes once a week. It was certainly before COVID. They're not doing it as often now, but they spend some time doing something traditional, something that would be familiar. I know that at West Haven we have quite a few Asian and Vietnamese, so we have lots of people who speak Vietnamese go in there, so that the resident is actually able to speak to someone in their native language. And we do that without our volunteers. What other examples could you give me of things that happen with culture or diversity?
Understanding not just their language, but maybe the way that you approach someone. We could be pre-COVID, we could be all huggers. That's not suitable for some people. Actual contact, but be respectful of their tradition.
Yep, absolutely. I'm so pleased you're on board today, Leslie. It's going to be great. Leslie is a fountain of knowledge. I won't tell you why. That's for her. We're really grateful to have you here today. What else? Leslie's right. Some people aren't huggers.
There's a lot of Italians at Wyndham Lodge, and it helped a little bit to try and understand a few words.
And you have an Italian club there, don't you? Is that right, Keith?
Yes, we do. Very successful one.
So that's a great example of how volunteers are supporting people's cultural identity. It's fantastic, and we love hearing stories about them, and Keith does share them with us. So keep sharing them, Keith. What about diversity in terms of sexuality, gender, neurodiversity, people who have autism, dementia? Have you thought about those in terms of identity?
Well, when I do my craft, I often have a few with dementia, and I have a young Greek girl who's, I think, part of NDIS there, and she is just so gorgeous and Greek. And when the dementia patients come, I try to just, some of them, as you know, repeat, and they want to know where their husband is. And I just try to calm them and say, yes, your husband is okay, and just try to comfort them as best I can, and just listen to them. It's a difficult one with dementia, actually, because I have dealt with it in the family with my mother-in-law, and it's a hard one. It really is. And just to keep them focused on doing a task is sometimes challenging, I find.
So that's something to take into consideration when you're planning an activity. If you do, when you're diverse in there, how do you accommodate and support those people? How do you make sure that they remain engaged while everyone's okay? Think about those things, but these are the things that the standards, the Commission is asking us to take into consideration, particularly more so as Asperger's, autism, all different kinds of disabilities are now coming into play in aged care, because we had thalidomide babies, we had all sorts of issues going on where people were doing things and ended up with disabilities. So how do you as a volunteer think about those people, and how do you put aside your unconscious bias, because people have grown up with issues? How do you navigate that, and how do you support those people in the same way that you support people who aren't as diverse?
When I work with the young Greek girl that I work with, I know she loves doing simple tasks. Like, I usually cut up cards for her, and we do a montage with the cards. And for her, it's a challenge to think where she's going to put it on that paper and then glue it. And you can see her mind going where she's going to place that card or that picture. And she just loves it. And when we finish the activity, she will say, "That's my best one." And I go, "Yes, that's your best one." And she's so proud of it. It's such a simple task, but you can see the enjoyment she's getting from it.
So it's all
Doesn't
about
that in turn give you great satisfaction as well?
Yes, it does. I mean, she's just, when I come on a Monday, she just lights up, and she'll say to me, "Am I doing stickers today?" I go, "Yes, stickers after lunch." And it just makes her day. It's so enjoyable to watch her.
Yeah, it's what volunteering's all about, isn't it?
It is. It's lovely.
One thing I do want to raise is that quite a few dementia patients are quite racist. They say things that are really confronting sometimes. We've all been educated to not think that way about people.
Right.
So when you actually have someone who has dementia, who has gone back to something that they probably grew up in, because a lot of them referred to immigrants as new Australians and things as their childhood, and because they've reverted back with dementia, they can be quite without actually meaning to be. So just remember when you're actually doing that to, plain face, don't react. But you say, let's talk about something else and shut it down. There's no point in saying, "Hey, I want to talk about that with someone who has dementia." They digest that information. But just be aware of your own responses as well, because that can be quite difficult.
You also have to remember it's another generation.
Yes.
And even 30 years ago, it was completely different, let alone 50, 60 years ago. So, and it's not going to change for them now. It's just, you really just go along with the dementia patients and try and keep them happy. And I think agree with them to a certain extent. You're not there to disagree with them or say you're wrong. We're there to make them feel happy. And
yes.
All right, I'm going to share my screen and pop back into the standards. Okay, cultural safety. So we've talked a little bit about this, but I had an experience a few years ago where I was over in Perth, and I visited an aged care home there, and they actually had someone who was Jewish and someone who was German sitting together, and they had different experiences during the war. And became very agitated. So fine, as soon as they had their food, they would eat, they'd be fine. But the minute the food was over, she was back there, and she in a concentration camp, and putting her was of German descent was really hard for her. And we worked with the organisation to separate them and make sure that they had their own space. But thinking about cultural safety from that point of view, a refugee, any kind of history in the background can make someone feel unsafe culturally. Respectful of their culture is really important. Because we're actually trying to say yes to residents' choices now, we often find ourselves in the position where it's difficult to say no. So there is a mechanism called dignity of risk. And that is basically if a resident wants to go for a walk by themselves, even though they're not steady on their feet, or they want to go skydiving, or they want to do something that they physically may not have the capability to do, we actually have to get in the family and the medical professionals to actually be able to say no. Otherwise, we have to do whatever we can to support that resident's wish. I don't know of anyone who's actually made skydiving, but it's certainly something that we're trying to facilitate the residents' goals, but we also have that dignity of risk measurement or mechanism to be able to say no if there's a problem. Within Standard 1, we also have to provide information. So over the last couple of years, VAPCare has implemented resident information meetings, newsletters. They consult with the residents. We're doing some co-design work, particularly in the dementia space. We've got a team from Monash University who's actually working with residents in early dementia to talk to them about what their experiences are and what services we should be putting in place. So it's all about making sure there's information for them. The Wyndham Lodge families and residents, when we had our COVID outbreak at Wyndham Lodge, they were getting daily updates on what was going on, what we were doing to support them, how we were managing the situation. Everything is about providing information. Sometimes it can be a bit of overload, but it's all about making sure the residents understand that what is going on around them and that what we are doing for them is because of this reason or this reason, and being able to allow them to make informed decisions. Number 6 in this particular standard, personal privacy and confidentiality. Privacy and confidentiality is incredibly important, and sometimes we get really slack with it. We had an incident a while ago where a volunteer had visited someone who had a heart condition, a resident, and she had lived in the ILU previously, the resident. And so she was going up to the site, visiting the resident, and then reporting back on the health condition of the person to all of the other ILU residents. She really struggled with actually understanding that that wasn't quite okay. No. We nipped it in the bud and we talked to them and we said, well, it's like someone going around and saying you've had the runs all day. You don't really want everybody knowing what your particular health condition is. No. Think of confidentiality in a way of if you don't know stuff about you, please don't tell it about anybody else. The other thing, and we're going to do some elder abuse training in the next couple of weeks, Maria's been working on that. We're going to talk about confidentiality and reporting, because sometimes it's due to break confidentiality to tell us, but there are people to do that and processes in which to do that. So we ask that you don't have conversations between yourself and other volunteers or other people. If you see something and you need to say something, staff are the people to do, and you can't get onto staff. My team, Maria, Cash, are available, all the volunteer coordinators. We ask that you respect that privacy and confidentiality. It's incredibly important. The other standard 1 is that connection to relationships and communities. So some of the ways in which we do this, Okay, so at Karana, they often do a husband and wife dinner for two, particularly when one of the partners lives outside and comes in to visit. On special occasions, the chef will prepare a lovely 3-course meal. There'll be roses and candlelight, and they'll be put in a room together to just have a special dinner for two to try and maintain that romantic relationship, because there's a lot of loss and a lot of grief that goes on when a partner comes into sight. We try and make that really special. In sites where we have the kiosk, we used to decide what to stock the kiosk with. Now we ask the residents, because we feel it's really important that we're actually providing what they want to buy rather than what we think they should. And one of the residents was really keen on having chocolate frogs so she could buy them for when her grandchildren came to visit. It's really sweet, but we didn't know that. So asking that question was good, because it meant that we could give her the ability to do something nice. And I know the lifestyle team often consult with the residents, especially in the meetings, about what activities they'd like to do and try and put things in place. So it's all about providing that choice for them. Okay, standard 2, ongoing assessment and planning with the residents. I'm a partner in ongoing assessment and planning that helps me get the care and services I need for my health and wellbeing. What do you think that means?
Where you have residents meetings with the management.
Yes. What else do we do?
Asking the individual what they would like to do, incorporate that into their daily activities. They may want to just watch television all day. Respect that. They don't want to go out and play basketball or do the garden or bingo or whatever. It's about what they want to do. So the activities chart should really reflect the individual, and that can still be group activities, but be respectful that they only want to do what's in their care plan. And the girls, you'll find the lifestyle team will already have that in place. So don't push something onto them that they don't really want to be a part of.
So let the residents give any grievances that they may have or things they think could be done better.
I think maybe also let the residents' needs change, and maybe their goals change as well. So if you set up a program where they're doing the same thing, same time of day, you're not going to be able to adapt to their changing needs.
Yeah, our lifestyle team are incredibly dedicated to providing that different program and incorporating different things. It doesn't always happen because sometimes there's budget and planning restrictions, but I know that when residents ask for different activities or ask to be left alone in bed, the lifetime team do whatever they can. You may not be aware, but the Commission actually looks at each resident's plans. They pull plans out of the computer, and the lifestyle team work really hard in documenting individual plans for every single resident that's in there. And it's the same with clients with home care as well. So there's all this paperwork behind all of the activities that they do, and there's all these plans behind all the activities they do. And volunteers may not be aware of it, but it might be helpful if you are doing one-on-ones with residents and they're going, no, I don't want to do this, just to check in with the lifestyle team and just say, what else can I do? Or is there something you want me to do with her? Or is there something I can help them achieve? Because it's been really, it's hard to know what the plans are, and the load for lifestyle is quite large, and they don't, I'm sure Liz will agree with me, they don't always have time to do every little bit of it. So anything that you could do to help or offer to help would be great. And the more activities, the easier it is for lifestyle to get all the behind the work scenes done as well. So they do a tremendous job. They're just incredible people, and they love having volunteers help. So ongoing assessment and planning. So that has to happen all the time, and those assessments have to be updated. And they're not just for the enhancement services, the lifestyle stuff, they're for the clinical care as well. So every time there's a change in their medical status, lifestyle and the clinical partners have to go in and actually change things up and do new plans, which is really good because it promotes a conversation with the residents. So now we as volunteers and staff are partners for residents' goals. So we had a resident a while back, he wanted to go and buy his own grandson's wedding present. So his family had always said, I'll just get it and I'll put your name on the card. But he didn't want that. He wanted to go out, he wanted to go to the shops, and he wanted to buy it for himself. And so we facilitated that. The volunteer took him, they got it all gift wrapped. He came back and he went off to the wedding very pleased because he'd actually bought them something that he wanted to buy them. Small goal, took a little bit of logistical working, but we are partnering with residents for the goals. We have other residents who want to go for a walk. I know in Tassie, they've got a couple of residents who go for a walk every day. So the volunteer goes in and they go for a walk, and it's a pre-planned route and it's all been checked for work health and safety, but they plan these things. We've asked for a lot more flexibility for volunteer roles. You'll probably find as you come back, you're not doing the same traditional things that you used to do before. We're asking you to do different things, a lot more one-on-one, because residents deteriorate when they don't get visitors and their families are excluded. So we ask for that flexibility from you guys so that we can keep doing all the things we have to do. And we involve, listen to and respect the views of our residents and offer as many choices as we can. Always offering choices and asking for consent. I'm going to jump to here and just go straight into personal and clinical care. So I get personal care, clinical care, or both personal and clinical care that is safe and right for me. What does that actually mean? What does safe and right for them mean?
What they feel comfortable with.
With, I would say, with what they feel comfortable.
Yeah, sort of a personalised service.
Yep, that's right. So this is exactly what it is. As I said before, some people have continence aids. Some people are very capable in the shower. They just need someone to be there. And it's really confronting for the first few times when you go into aged care to have someone standing there while you're naked and vulnerable in the shower. So we have to negotiate and navigate all of those emotional responses as well as the physical responses that a person has, give them the right kind of care. So our staff do a tremendous job, and it's something that we ask you to think about as volunteers. A couple of things to draw attention on this slide: sanitising. Make sure every time you go in and out of a residence room, every time you change activities, anytime you touch something, that you're sanitising your hands. The touch side, while once very important before COVID, not so much now, please. Right now, that's not the right kind of service. Okay, so safe, effective, best care practice and support, tailoring to the residents while managing the risk, the dignity of risk form that we've talked about. Okay, infection control and free flu shots. So we offer our volunteers free flu shots, and lately we've been offering COVID jabs. Now, I hope everyone is aware that by the end of this week, everyone has to have at least one COVID jab to be able to volunteer. Is anyone not aware of that? Oh, that's a great silence. I'm so pleased. Everyone who has gone and got their COVID jabs, it gives us peace of mind, and it gives the residents peace of mind, and hopefully gives you peace of mind as well. Of course, volunteers, having volunteer programs is part of our personal care that we offer, and you guys play an active role in the wellbeing of our residents with personal activities, entertainment, spiritual and emotional support, and most of all, empowering the residents to speak up and choose. And we'll get into how they speak up later. Okay, so the Warm Hope Project is, like Gisela was telling us before, the residents knit squares with the volunteers. We put them together and then they're given to either the residents, but we also donate them to Women's Refuge and also to our asylum seekers as well. Some of the men like a barber shop. They have, you know, a bit of a beer, a bit of a hot towel shave, a bit of pampering for the guys, which we think is fantastic. When we're not in COVID, some of the personal care that the volunteers did was taking residents out for coffee, to the movies, doing something else. We ask our residents to volunteer, so they get involved in things like the RSL Poppy Project, then knit their own poppies. They might go and help out with something at an RSL club, or there's been all sorts of activities that our residents have done. They did at Kenview. Correct me if I'm wrong, Leslie, they made mittens for the koalas during the bushfire, is that right?
Yes, they did. A group of ladies that were one was able to sew, someone else could cut out. Some of them were quite happy just to be in the company of other ladies, and they made little mittens, cotton mittens that tied up around the wrist for all the koalas with the feet during the bushfire.
Yep, so really good as well. Yeah, so getting our residents to volunteer and actually contribute, I think, is a wonderful way to keep them motivated and connected to community, and that's really what this is all about. We have a site down in the country where they actually take the residents to the footy ground and they go and have a beer and a pie afterwards. But that was their local footy team. So they would go and they'd barrack and they'd have a ball and yell and scream at everybody for missing goals or whatever, or yell at the umpire for making the wrong call, and then they'd all go off to the pub before taking them back home. That's a real asset to maintaining connection to community and is incredibly important. So we want to keep doing things like that. COVID has really disrupted it, but hopefully once everyone's vaccinated and we can open up a little bit, it'll be a very different story. Service and supports for daily living. I get the services and supports for daily living that are important for my health and well-being and that enable me to do the things I want to do. So it's about connection. It's about progressing. Like if they've got goals, how do we help them to do that? It's about contributing, as we spoke about it just a minute ago, and about being respected. It's also about quality, making sure that they have a good life, that they're not just waiting to end their life, but they're actually enjoying the last few months or years of life. Really important thing to do. So in supporting residents to engage in community, internally and externally, so that's what we've talked about. Abbey Gardens actually has a ball every year where and this year's theme was going to be cowboys, so country and western. So they were really disappointed because they had to cancel, but they're hoping to have it once things open up, and the families and the community actually come in and they actually dance at the ball and everyone dresses up, the residents dress, staff dress up. It's a fantastic event and a great initiative. We do support to engage in social and personal relationships. So during the big lockdown last year, a lot of our volunteers kept in touch by phone or by Skype. We are so grateful that they did, because those relationships actually really helped the residents not to deteriorate. Their connection to that outside world was incredibly important. And even though our volunteers weren't necessarily saying, oh, it's really bad out here, this is what's going on, it was just that fact that somebody cared about them, that didn't get paid to care about them, that was really important. Things like doing activities that they're interested in. Matthew's got a great following for his history sessions, don't you, mate?
Definitely. Yeah, and it's lovely seeing them.
Yeah, it is. And they look forward to it. And of course, that's personal goals. Can you see organisation's service environment?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I feel I belong and I am comfortable in the organisation's service environment. So I want you just to take a moment and I want you to imagine that you are blind and you've gone to bed early one evening because you were tired, and you live with a housemate, and overnight he's had a bunch of friends in and they've moved all the furniture, there's litter and garbage all over the floor. All you want to do is get up and get your coffee because you don't function until you've had your coffee. And you walk out of your room and you step on stuff that you can't see, and there's furniture in the way and you almost trip over. And it's like you're sitting there going, what on earth is going on? That feel?
Awful.
I'd probably be a bit stressed.
Yeah.
And helpless.
So what does that mean? Like in terms of that person, does that person feel respected by their housemate or their friends?
No.
And also their confidence will go as well of being able to get around.
Do they feel safe?
No.
No.
Do they feel angry?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, you've invaded their personal space.
And they're out of their comfort zone. They're just out of their comfort zone.
And their confidence will go down too, because they're not able to do the things they were able to do.
So this is in their own home.
Yeah.
If you're a dementia patient and you were walking through an area which you knew really well and everything had changed, how would that feel?
They'd be more confused than ever.
So
because they like everything where it is, and they don't like anything moved. It's a bit like autism, where everything has got to be exact, or they have to know where it is. And I've worked with children in disabilities, and I found with them that if you move something, they move it straight back to where it was. So it has to stay where it is for them to know where they're going.
So how do you as a volunteer in a residential aged care home and not make someone feel unsafe?
You can move it without asking them.
You have to ask.
And as a volunteer, I don't know about anyone else, but we don't go around changing anything in their rooms. We don't do anything like that. That's left to the nurses or lifestyle staff or whatever, but we
That's
just,
exactly right.
yeah, we take things as they are.
And it could be
unless they
move the water glass from one side of the tray to the other. It doesn't have to be a big change. But if the person has diminished capacity to understand what the changes are, as volunteers and as visitors to their home, need to make sure that we're not altering things. Running an activity for them and you've needed to change the furniture around, you need to put it back at the end of the act. If you're running an activity, say you're making cards, Helen, and say Shane is doing a drumming activity in the next room, maybe you need to consider where to do that activity, because if Shane's doing noisy stuff, people who need instructions as to how to do stuff shouldn't be in the same room. So a conversation with your volunteer coordinator about the place to actually run activities is going to be of the most comfort to the volunteers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Even someone wanted to move one of the garden chairs, and there was a whole process around doing that. The residents had to be talked to about it before they could move the garden chair, because they must have seen it done in the spot. To think about the impacts. So standard 5 is all about home.
Dominique.
Yeah.
Just a little comment. I'm a volunteer at Vision Radio, and we're told that if we move anything, we have to move it back when we've vacated the space.
People need to be comfortable and know that they can actually expect their environment to be the environment.
Yes.
Just jump onto the next slide here.
Dominic, it's Helen here. I know when I do one of the ladies' nails, I have to move the chair to sit on, and I always put it back in the exact position. And I always make sure she always has a box of tissues at her table, and I always make sure I put the tissues exactly back where they were.
Always a good idea. I mean,
yeah,
you know what it's like when someone removes the remote or the cordless phone in your own home.
Exactly.
just remember it's their home.
And if they have limited mobility as well, it's not easy for them to get it. So that's the other thing I think of.
Yep, absolutely. So Babcare tries really hard to minimise confusion in the environment for them by keeping things the same or making sure that they're keeping the residents in the loop when they are changing. They have an obligation, but also a desire to provide a clean, comfortable, safe and well-maintained space. There's work health and safety that goes on, so no cords on the floor, no broken furniture, things like that are removed. And they want to make sure that it's safe. So, and that comes into that, you know, if you see something, say something. If you see cords laid out across the floor and you think it's a tripping hazard, talk to a staff member about it. Stop for safety cards. We encourage you to use them when you see hazards like that. We'll get into the stop for safety when we go into elder abuse training and dementia training as well, because we don't want you putting yourselves in difficult positions. But just as much as it's their home, we need it to be safe for you and them. So make sure you're speaking up. But keep an eye out for things like if a volunteer moves the chairs and they don't put them back, remind the volunteer. Another thing too is we found over COVID that in some of the group sessions that we've set up that we've, you know, socially distanced all the chairs, and the residents come to the activity and they put them all back together. It's their I can't see why they have to do that in their home, and I understand why they feel that way. So it's about, you know, tidying up, returning furniture, reporting any faulty equipment, consider where you host activities and plan to minimise confusion, ensure basic hygiene. Now, we're not asking for basic hygiene now, we're asking for great hygiene, just to be clear. And like if you're taking the residents to courtyard and walks around the home, just make sure there's no tripping hazards or anything that could hurt them, because the last thing you want to do is be in a position where the resident might get hurt. We've only got 3 standards left, so I can be quick. Feedback and complaints. I feel safe and I'm encouraged and supported to give feedback and make complaints. I'm engaged in processes to address my feedback and complaints, and appropriate action is taken. Can anyone tell me what the feedback form looks like?
No.
The leaflet at the front door. It should be in the, well, I'm assuming that most facilities would have a pamphlet stand, and that'd be in the reception.
Leslie, it's also at the nurses' stations. So did you know you can fill in feedback forms?
No, didn't know.
And feedbacks can be compliments as well as complaints. So the staff love them, but most nurses station has them. But there are some volunteers at some sites who actually, once every couple of months, they were going around pre-COVID and talking to residents and going, have you got any feedback? And they would actually fill in the form for them if they couldn't fill it in themselves. And then they put them in the feedback box. The feedback form goes to the RCSM, the leader of the site, or the manager of, if it's an in-home care program, they can go straight to the website, type in complaints on the BAPCare website, and it'll bring up the feedback form, and you can put compliments in as well. So if you're happy about something, that goes right up the top of the tree. It doesn't just go to a manager, it actually goes straight up to Graham, our CEO, and he reads them. He's very good about that, and he follows up. So we like feedback because we do continuous improvement all the time, and every facility and every program has a continuous improvement plan. We address problems as quickly as we can. It's taken seriously, and you can assist by offering encouragement and support, provide your own feedback, and empowering residents. If a resident's saying, oh, no, I don't want to cause trouble, just say, look, they want to know. If they don't know, they can't fix it. So encourage the residents to actually say, hey, I don't actually like orange juice, I prefer water, or whatever it is. It can be a really simple thing. It doesn't have to be a big deal. So don't advocate for medical changes. It's not your role. There are limits about what you should be doing. But if a resident is complaining to you about their medical care, their clinical care, that's something you need to go to the nurses station and say, hey, I think Doris is having a bad day. She's mentioned this. Can you go talk to her, and hand it to the staff? And if it's not followed up, keep elevating until you get to me. At which point I'll just ring the RCSM and go heads up. So, okay, so you can offer support for residents to submit their own view. This is what happens when you have a complaint or feedback. It goes to the lifestyle or volunteer coordinator. They're the first point of contact. If they're not around, go to the office manager. The office manager is not available, or even if they are available, they'll elevate it to the residential care and service manager. If in-home care, volunteers go straight to Maria. She lets them know, and then we put it to the correct manager in in-home care. So it is taken seriously, but that's the process. If they're not available, fill out a feedback form. And if it's an emergency, go to the nurses station and tell them you need some assistance. This is what the feedback forms look like. So you can write whatever you like. You can do it anonymously if you want to. That's okay. I have never heard of a volunteer getting in trouble for providing feedback. So, and I would know because it had come to me. So just, feel safe that you can actually raise some concerns, and you can give us suggestions as well. It doesn't have to be a compliment or a complaint. It can absolutely be a suggestion. I know there's very similar concern on there, but if you think we're doing something really well, tell us that we're doing it really well so we can keep doing it. Or if the resident's telling you we're doing something well, tell us, because we don't always know. We don't always have capacity to hear it because we're busy. So pointing it out to us is really good. Just do it nicely. That's all I'm asking. Okay, so as I said, feedback forms at all nurses station, taking the form, sitting with the residents, letting staff know when a resident would like to do something else. So if bowling's on and they want to just play cards in their room, that's okay, but just let the staff know if you've been asked to go get them. Just say, look, she just wants to play cards. I'm going to go play cards with her. You now know the process for making a complaint. And as I said, you can go to our website. You can also use the volunteer@bapcare.org.au. You can write directly to us on email. And if need be, if the resident wants to make a complaint and they don't have English as their first language, we can source an advocate or a translator for residents. So don't forget that there are lots of mechanisms that people can provide feedback on the service that we provide and the care that they're receiving. Standard 7, this is my favourite standard because it's about human resources. I get quality care and services when I need them from people who are knowledgeable, capable and caring. That kind of describes volunteers, right? Yeah.
Right.
And this is why we ask you to do all the training as well, because we think professional development, even as a volunteer, is something that you not only deserve, but that it actually helps you to enjoy your role more. So there are 4 key concepts. First is enough workforce. So making sure that there are enough staff to deliver the clinical care and the enhancement care like lifestyle and volunteer services that we need to actually make the residents and our clients' lives better. Attributes, attitudes, and performance of workforce and volunteers. So we go through quite a process when we onboard you. We do interviews, we do reference checks, we do police checks, we do the stat deck, we fill out a quite an extensive application form, which is part of the interview process. And then we do induction and we do work health and safety and we do all this training. So, and we do that because we want to make sure that the people that we're bringing into the site are safe and willing and have an attitude.
Very important.
It is. It's very important. And I know sometimes that volunteers go, there's so much paperwork to do, but we do it because, number one, you're working with other volunteers. So we want to know that the volunteer is going to treat each other well. You're working with staff and we put them through an even more extensive process, would you believe, before they can come on board. And you're working with vulnerable people. So we want to make sure you have all of the right information, the right training, so that everyone is safe and that everyone can enjoy their role. Organisation of workforce and volunteers. So that means the top, from the board right down, having funding, having resources, having people like me and Maria and Cash, having people like lifestyle and volunteer coordinators. It's incredibly important to have volunteer coordinators who you can talk to and who support you. And we actually have that support at back here. We're very fortunate because there are some organisations that don't have volunteer coordinators. So we are kind of very different and very professional about that as well. And we also have our recognition programs and the support that we do as well. And then assessment, monitoring and review. That's a lot of, we talked about standards 2 and 3, that clinical care and planning, monitoring. We've just completed an audit in the volunteer program. That's our monitoring and review stuff to make sure that all our volunteers have the right credentials and making sure that everybody is safe. So we talked about workforce who are sufficiently qualified and skilled. We actually do a lot of training with our workforce, right through from PCWs right up to RCSMs to divisional leads in home care, to our family services, our foster care, our asylum seeker teams. We do tons of training. Enough people to support the residents, and our volunteers make up our team of who enough people are, and we're so grateful to have you back after having that big long lockdown last year. Enough people with training and skills. So we know we've asked you to do a lot of training this year, but this is part of Standard 7. Best practice and upskilling to meet needs. So we're going to be doing dementia training very soon and elder abuse training, which is exciting. Maria's done a lot of work on those. Effectively communicating with you. So being able to let you know through My Impact, the database that we use to talk to you. In work health and safety, making sure that you guys aren't pushing trolleys or wheelchairs without knowing how to, without hurting yourself. Safety checks, security checks, and that fostering a culture of respect for diversity and inclusion. Okay, I'm going to just keep going. Organisational governance. This is our last standard, guys. I'm confident the organisation is well run. I can partner in improving the delivery of care and services. So as I said, our board loves our volunteers. We actually started Back Care with volunteers. And our CEO and executive leadership team value our volunteers as well, which is really good. Standards 8 holds the governing body accountable for the delivery of safe, quality and care. During COVID, we heard a lot of news reports about St. Basil's and a couple of other organisations where the residents had to actually be removed because they weren't getting safe and quality care. Back Care, we have not had any residents removed for that reason. So, and our governing body is accountable for that. They are very concerned about the delivery of care. We have a whole quality team that actually assesses and supports the team on the ground to make sure that everyone's getting the right kind of quality care. Ensures that our interactions with our residents are kind, caring and respectful of each resident's identity, culture and diversity. Remember how that wraparound model goes back to number 1, part of number 1. Supporting residents to live the best life that they can. Educating the workforce and volunteers to know what harm, abuse and neglect looks like and how to prevent and report it. That's what we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks with our elder abuse training. and managing the organisation ethically, responsibly, transparently, and is accountable. So you would have seen our annual report, but the ELT and the board are always concerned about our ethics, and they're always concerned about our ethics and making sure that we're transparent and that we hold each other accountable. So examples of practice of this are safety in the dementia training. So we do lots of work health and safety. We're doing dementia training, effective feedback mechanisms, which we just talked about in Standard 6, strategic and financial planning. So it's been tough. There's been a lot of extra costs with all the PPE and everything else with COVID. So it's up to the board and the ELT to really plan to make sure that we have the financial resources to make sure there's enough staff to care for everyone. And managing risk and quality in relation to the health and wellbeing of our residents, staff and volunteers. So in terms of the risk management, you may not know, but every 3 months your volunteer coordinators have to complete a risk assessment, particularly during COVID, to make sure that having volunteers is safe. So part of that risk assessment is training, infection control, COVID vaccines, all that sort of stuff. So they're doing a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that everybody is okay and that it's safe for you to come back on board. Part of that risk assessment is if there is a COVID case, what our communication strategy to you are, how we manage that with you, how we contact you to say, hey, you're on site, there was a COVID case, heaven forbid, we don't want one. But we've got mechanisms in place to actually make sure that you're safe as well. So we think that's really, really important. Now, questions?
Dementia training.
Yes.
There was one of the girls in Lifestyle, Michelle, I don't know, she hasn't returned. She's been ill, I believe. She ran a very good dementia training course for us. Would be early last year.
Yeah, the story.
Yes, she was fantastic. That was wonderful.
Yeah. So we've our dementia training, we've been working with Monash University, and Maria's been pulling together resources from everywhere. And Monash have been looking at it and giving us some guidance around what to do. So we're going to be rolling that out in a couple of weeks, but it does include Montessori.
Okay. Yeah. No, it was terrific, that one we did.
Michelle's great.
And she was wonderful, really wonderful.
Yeah.
I have a question for the volunteers. Does everyone have their stuff for safety card? Because that's essential for all the volunteers to be able to say, I don't feel comfortable in this situation. Or if you are asked to leave something and you can't. So if you want to put on the chat who needs it, then we can send that information to your volunteer coordinator. So you have it.
We'll send out an email to the volunteer coordinators to just ask them to give you one if you haven't got one already. I know that the work health and safety team will be delivering more of the site over the next couple of weeks. By the end of October, you should all have one if you don't. Please let your volunteer coordinator know. But it is, Maria's very right. It's really important. If you're uncomfortable in any situation, you need to walk away. You need to pull your stop for safety out and say, this doesn't work. I'm going to step back and go and get a staff member to address whatever's going on.
Absolutely.
Role to intervene.
I'm just a little unclear as to when we are actually able to come back.
You're able to come back?
We are.
Which side are you?
Well, I'm at Wyndham and I'm actually doing the volunteer pastoral care.
Okay. I understand that your chaplain's been on leave for quite a while, but I'm sure Keith will hook you back up. Is that right, Keith?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That's one part of what we do. That's taking the services, but both of us also do going around the wards, the rooms. Are we able to do that again? And do we have to wear protective gear or?
You have to wear protective gear, but visiting people, as long as you do it in a way that's following the infection control. So talk to Keith about the infection control practices, then he can walk you through it. But there should be no reason that you can't go back and do those things, even if you can't do the services just yet.
We might start with the services and then we can go.
All right. Well, I'll follow it up at my end.
Yeah,
and see what I can do to hasten things along. Anyone else?
Yes, just a question. At the moment, I haven't been in at Headley Sutton for like a couple of months with the lockdown. What sort of changes are there then with the protective wear? I noticed that they're at one of the places they're wearing like the face shields and that. Will we need to do that, or is it just the face masks?
Yeah, depends on the site. Some have goggles instead of the face shields. Some sites like the Gippsland or Kooringal have different because they've got different restrictions around the restrictions.
Dominic, could I make a comment on that?
Yes,
Lisa, I wear my mask until I start my talks, and I take my mask off because they can't understand me if I.
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Many of them have lip read for a long time without actually realising they've been lip reading. It's been 18 months and the residents are pretty good at this now. Like they've got the staff wearing the same PPE every day. I understand. Just to remember, no matter what you do, that social distance is incredibly important as well.
Yes.
But to speak to your individual volunteer coordinator about things like taking your mask off and social distancing and making sure it's appropriate, because we're not supposed to do that at all.
No. It's quite challenging.
Yeah, unless you're eating.
Yeah, if you're standing out the front taking a service, it's very, very difficult to do that with a mask on.
Agreed. That's something you have to navigate, yes.
Yeah.
Is everyone aware of the single site rule that you can only volunteer or work at one site? Yeah. We have some volunteer coordinators who work across sites too, but they're only allowed to work on one at a time and then have to
Okay.
And we do have volunteers who do volunteer at 2 sites, but when the health department says single site, that means us through. Yeah, just be aware, sort of, or like, and it could not just be aged care. If you work in a hospital or a school environment or a childcare centre, we're having those discussions. So just check in with your coordinator. They will speak to their RAC manager and they'll be able to give you a definitive answer on that exact question. It depends on the site. It depends on the situation. If you're in a hot spot, things are tighter.
Yeah, well, Dominic, I work at a disability school. I've been there 30 years but I haven't been there since February this year for that simple reason. Because I know we're all vaccinated at aged care, I don't know whether the school is, or there's no set rule there. So I haven't been back this year. I've just concentrated on VAP care, that's it.
Which is wonderful. We're very happy.
It's not worth the risk.
It's not. It's not. And I can tell you now, once it gets into a site,
that's exactly right.
It's really hard to get out. So every measure, and that reminds me, if you live with someone who's been sick, if you live with someone who's visited a tier 1 site and may not be sick, please stay home.
Yeah.
Please do that self-health assessment and make sure that even if you've got the slightest sniffle, stay away. I have hay fever almost every day. I'm not visiting sites while it's like this.
Yes.
COVID's done, and I'm fully vaccinated. So just really, really careful about who you live with and who you associate with.
That's right.
When you're going to the sites, because we just, you would hate to be that person.
Yes, exactly.
Unknowingly brought it in. If you're not signing in on Better Impact, please do so, because that is the fastest way we can get information to you. If there's been a case at a site, please tell us, or please make sure you're signing in and out with your QR code on the tablets, because or your phone, because that way we can contact you straight away and say this person's been on that site at this time between this hour and this hour. They're exposed. I'll need to self-isolate. Exactly. So just remember, I know you're signing in on Zipline too, but that's kind of temperature taking and other things. Better Impact is really for us to be able to say this volunteer was here then. We need to keep them safe. So is anyone having trouble with Better Impact?
I don't really understand what Better Impact is.
Keith will walk you through it.
Okay.
You sign in with your QR code. So you sign.
I haven't really been doing anything for almost 2 years.
I have the great information that it's been set up at the reception desk, I believe, and you'll be shown how to use it when you first go back.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
once you get a hold of it, now that we're all used to holding our phones up for QR codes, once you get used to it, it's very easy to use.
Very easy, yeah, it is.
And we also have a YouTube channel, which Maria has created a ton of videos. So we'll send the links out in a follow-up email with this as well. If someone did ask if the video is going to be available, it may take a couple of days because we're going to cut some stuff out. But yes, the video will be available and we'll put it on YouTube at that same link.
And can I just add, for all volunteers, if you have had your COVID vaccine, can you please make sure to send the certificate to your volunteer coordinator? That's really important for us and for the residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, if we don't have it by Friday, you can't go in. You have to get your certificate first. So please, and even if it's just I've had my first, no problem. Just tell us what you've had. So, yeah, we're just trying to keep everybody safe so that everybody recovers and, or rather, doesn't need to recover from this pandemic. So,
Do we need to just to give our certificate?
Yes.
For the COVID that we already had our vaccine?
Yeah, COVID and flu shot. So it's
we always had
yeah,
to do.
and I had two already. I had the AstraZeneca.
Oh, great.
And
Doses?
Yeah, I had two. Yeah, two.
Great.
Yeah.
Nice feeling when you've had both. You can just kind of tick that off your list.
Yes.
Live. Yeah. Is anyone
I
having?
had it in June and August.
Fantastic. A lot of our volunteers did. That we were really pleased to see how many of you actually did, but we still need those certificates so we can, because we report to the health department every week on how many people, like workforce and our volunteers, how many have had. So the more information you can give us, the better. Is anyone having trouble going to MyGov and downloading their certificates?
No.
Okay, great. Is there anything else you want to tell us or feedback you want to give us?
Could you just maybe talk again about the wheelchairs, because I've offered to take people after my talks, but the staff prefer to do it.
Yes, they do. You need to have manual handling training so that you don't hurt yourself, because having lifted a wheelchair when I was much younger, they're quite a lot heavier.
Yeah, oh yes, I'm aware of that.
Yeah, but we also know that pushing sometimes heavy residents can actually hurt you. So we actually require you to do manual handling training.
Yep.
Your volunteer coordinator can organise that for you with the site educator. They can run that through. And also if you're pushing trolleys for kiosks or anything like that, it's the same thing, how to push things correctly. But also that consent piece is really important. So if you go to a room and you say to Joy, come on, would you like to go to bowling? And she says, yes. Keep just asking questions. Is it okay if I take you? Is it okay if I push your wheelchair? Are you ready to go? Just keep up the conversation, but keep asking for that consent. Same thing, like when you push the wheelchair and you get to the group, is this spot okay? Are you happy to be here or do you want to be around the other side? Make sure it's what they actually want. If you get in the habit of it, it becomes a really natural process, but it's something that we've seen time and time again. Volunteers just go, come on, we're going to bowling, and they just push them and they forget to respect that identity and individuality. So make sure you're asking those questions and asking for that continuous consent. Same as visiting someone in your room, knock on the door. Are you happy to have a chat today? Are you happy to come in?
Yeah.
Yep. Can I sit in the chair? On the bed. But maintain your social distance. But just ask for that consent, respect that identity and that individuality.
Yes, I always knock on the door and wait for them to say, come in or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And some days they're not going to feel like a chat.
No.
Some days I don't feel like a chat.
Most days they do. I don't get many that say no.
Is that we know that residents deteriorate when they're not seeing families, and we know that things are hard. And during the long lockdown, we had a resident with dementia. She was they used to keep her happy, basically make her happy by playing cards with her. So the school knew she loved to play cards, so they'd sit down and have a go, or the volunteers would, or the family would. But over that long lockdown where no families and no volunteers, she lost her ability to see red and black. No longer play cards. Just a small deterioration, but it's enough to make her. So the staff now spend as much time as they can with her trying to find other ways, but she loved cards. That was her joy. So having you guys go in and spend time with the residents, that's a bigger gift than you actually know, because it keeps them healthier as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Did you have a question? Oh, no, Lisa didn't have a question.
Sorry.
That's all right. I thought your hand was up. Anyone else? Anything? All right. So the elder abuse training, we're hoping to roll that out next week, and then we will and we'll invite you along. It'll be at a different time for today. If you can come along to some of our wellbeing events, please do. We know that it's really tough right now with COVID, and that everyone's had enough of lockdown and restrictions and not being able to hug people. So we're offer some stuff that might put a moment of light in your day. So come along and have some fun with us. We had trivia today, cash for the trivia, which is great. Oh, Joe's not on, but yeah, look, if you want to do anything, and if there's anything you need, please either ask your volunteer coordinators or sing out to us. Really happy to hear and listen. Okay. Here to support. Well, thank you everyone for being here today. We will keep on.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Dominique.
Thank you.
Oh,
Dr.
thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dominic.
Bye.
With that
Thank you.
dementia training, will that be online, or will they run that at the say at the orchards?
We can't run anything at site, so we're going to
Okay.
online as we can until we can.
It'll be online. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
See you later. Have a good
Bye,
day.
everyone.
Stay safe.
Thank you, Dominic.
Thanks, Keith, for organising that.
No problems.
See ya.